Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Bradley is dropping
what it is. Bradley back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I've got a real treat for you. It took me a while to get him on, man. He just kept canceling, but here he is, folks. Colton Lindsay. What's cracking, Colton?
What's up, my man? Yeah, I know. I got a tough schedule. I had to cancel on you, Brad. I'm just busy doing some shit in COVID-19 world.
Dude, you're the world's greatest realtor, aren't you?
Yeah, man. You better be careful with that. You'll get a cease and desist too. They'll be throwing them out left and right.
I won't get anything because I'm gonna be barring this shiny forehead of mine.
I can't believe you didn't put makeup on before the show today. Who's on that crew? The makeup crew.
Never have a shiny forehead. I don't know what it's so shiny for today. Maybe my skin's getting youthful. I've been watching your stuff more. You've been on some fire with the narrative that's going on. I was listening to a live you did, I don't know, right when this whole thing broke down and you were questioning everything. Remember right when the grocery stores started shutting down and people were going crazy, running all over the place? I was watching some live you're doing with a guy. I was like, dude, I got to talk with him, man. Like this shit's fucking crazy that's going on. What's your background in investigating the collapse of the government right now? What do you think? Well, I tend to think that it's politically motivated by the Democrats to crash the economy to get Trump out.
Have you ever read the book Creature from Jekyll Island?
No.
There's a book, two books I recommend: Creature from Jekyll Island and the Book of Mormon. I know that second one's a little weird, but when this started going down, this is what's that?
The Book of Mormon, the play, or the actual book?
No, the actual book. Or you can watch the play too, because that's funny as hell. But the actual Book of Mormon, like it's crazy how in line that book is with what's going on with the world right now. It is insanely crazy.
And you being Utah, good possibility you're Mormon.
So I'm not active in the church today, but I served a mission. And so I read that book a lot, probably about 30, 40 times I've read that book. And one of the consistencies of that is the pride cycle. And they call it secret combinations and secret oaths, right? So I was listening to an interview with Ice-T, you know, Ice-T. Yeah. So he said that's a cool thing about Trump. He's the baddest gangster because you can't find dirt on someone that's standing waist deep in shit, right? And so he's just this dude that's slinging around in the corrupt government right now, and that's why everything's crashing. This was so freaking planned, man. It's crazy how planned this is.
Yeah, well, I don't see how they're going to get rid of it. I mean, I think they're making Trump look better, not worse. Listen to all the Democratic states and the Democratic governors and whatnot. Those are the ones that are staying on lockdown and everything's scary. And then other ones, more Republican types, are opening up. Even now, that's even shifting back to where now everyone's starting to open up. I don't know who's orchestrating this or if there is a they involved, but I do believe that it wasn't like, in other words, I think in the beginning, maybe they really did think something was going to happen and they did all this because, you know, they wanted to save lives. But I think they acted on, information that wasn't vetted and a projection that wasn't really accurate. And I think, you know, now they're using it for political advantage.
Oh, for sure. It makes me like, is it Democrats anymore in like California, Washington State, New Jersey, or is it communism now? Like it's pretty wild what's going on in some of these states.
I think the overreach are these governors. Like, again, people think that they're our leaders. They keep seeing people say our leaders. They're not our leaders. They're our representatives. We elected them. They speak on our behalf. We don't listen to them. We are not they are not in power over us. They are simply our representatives. And I think sometimes, they believe they're our leaders and our rulers. And unfortunately, we don't have rulers here in the United States. That's what makes it beautiful. We don't have rulers. Okay, we have elected officials that speak on our behalves. I think sometimes, I want to rally people up to recall these elections, to like say, oh, you really, like the one in Chicago, that lady, holy
that mayor,
moly, dude. Yeah. She's yelling at people on the streets. We will put you in jail. We are not joking around. It's like, shut up, lady, before we reelect your ass out of the office. Like, we put you there, we'll take you out. Like, how about we just recall the election? How about we just tell you, you know what? We made a mistake with you. You're a power hungry bitch. Okay, sit down, shut up. Now, again, if it's protecting people, guys, we'd all be for protecting people. I think we're all for protecting people. The problem is when they start trying to act like they're in control and their decision what counts and their rules what count. Like, again, gyms are non-essential. However, liquor stores are essential. I don't get that. Liquor stores are essential?
Yeah, well, pot stores too, right?
Why would a liquor store be essential? We have to have liquor. I'll tell you why. Because some of those lawmakers, those rulers, our leaders drink. And when someone was rolling down the list of shit to close, they're like, shit, I don't work out. Screw the gyms. I'll have my stylist come to me like I do. So boom, 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 boom. Liquor stores. Yeah, that's essential. Hell yeah, that's essential. Our weed stores here, dude, are essential. Utah legal for yet?
No, medical very lightly, but it's highly regulated. Yeah. I mean, we still got state liquor stores in Utah.
You know what I mean, dude? Marijuana is just a normal plant growing on the side of the road. You pick a blade of grass and you smoke it. It ain't against the law. Why? Well, because nobody's making money on it. Okay.
Yeah,
some making money on it. And guess what? It'll become outlawed. And by the way, it got outlawed a long time ago, mainly because of the hemp industry. But let me get into the reason I wanted you on the show. You basically worked at your mom's office or something. I forget where I read it.
No, I just would run around at the office when she was the secretary when I was a kid.
You were just running around though, but you got the little exposure of real estate and real estate agents and, hanging around and you decided to be one. So your first year out, you probably were thinking, you know everything, and you sold like a house in the whole year or two. Right.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize that you had to work. I didn't understand. It didn't click till later that I had to prospect. I just didn't get it, which I spent 2 years prospecting to sell the Mormon church in Brazil. But for whatever reason, it didn't switch over to business. My first appointment I went on, I didn't even realize that people had to pay back mortgages on their houses. That's how naive I was with business. I didn't even know.
Damn, you call it naive? That's a nice word. I'd call that dumber than a box of rocks. You didn't realize you had to pay back loans?
I didn't realize that it was possible for them to owe more on their house than it was worth. That's so they owed 120 on it, and the house needed to sell for 75. Plus, they were Spanish speaking, and I don't speak Spanish; I speak Portuguese. So I was translating it with this 14-year-old daughter, and I was like, "All right, vamos vender la casa. Let's put it up for 75,000." And we owe 120. I'm like, "How's that possible? You can't owe more than it's worth." And so then I was debating with them through translating my broken Spanish to their daughter. So that was my first appointment ever.
And you were speaking Spanish because you were.
I learned Portuguese while I was on my mission in Brazil, so it's somewhat similar, Portuguese to Spanish.
You only sold Spanish customers?
No, that's just happened. I was just hungry to get business, and when I talked to a lead, they were an expired seller, and I just asked them, "¿Quieres vender la casa?" That's all I knew, right? And so they said, "Sí," and I said, "Bueno."
Were you in Utah? There's not a bunch of Latins in Utah. There's not a bunch of Hispanic population.
There's a lot of Spanish here. Yeah.
No, not like wherever you go, man, you got to speak Spanish.
Well, apparently that was the day I had to speak Spanish.
Dude, I got to get to the bottom of that story. It's funny because my grandmother's Spanish, and when I was young, my dad would not let her speak to me in Spanish, us kids, because apparently back then you would get ridiculed and messed with if you spoke Spanish or if you had any kind of a Spanish accent. So my dad would just tell my grandmother, stop speaking Spanish, which pisses me off because, man, if I could speak Spanish right now, dude, I'd be twice as bad ass.
Yeah.
And Portuguese, that's cool, but not as cool as Spanish.
It's not as badass. The only great thing about Portuguese is like when I'm in Brazil, I can talk to the Brazilian women because they're freaking hot. But that's like the only benefit.
Get your ass kicked by a Brazilian fighter, you can talk your way out.
That's the thing. I wouldn't recommend fighting with a Brazilian fighter either. They will whoop your ass. But surprisingly, most of them in Brazil actually don't know jiu-jitsu. They're not. Most of them are not fighters. They're mainly lovers. They're a touchy-feely culture for sure. The guys, the ladies, like that's a Latin America thing, though. They're just really great people.
So you basically discovered this way to prospect, I assume.
Yeah. So I got into business, and first 10 months I wasn't doing anything. So I went to this training program. And the guy said, "Hey, Bob," you'd read him earlier. He said that you need to start cold call prospecting and calling FSBOs and expires. So that's what I started doing. And this was probably for sale by owners. So people that think they can do better without a realtor, right? And so that's what I started doing. And at first I didn't know what I was doing. I just was calling them because I knew I needed to call them. I didn't have the right words to say, right? So I failed. And then I got some words to say, a script to follow. And as the market started shifting, right? You remember the recession, the housing market crash, subprime market. I didn't know what was going on at the time. And I just saw all these top agents that had over leveraged themselves with liabilities, just getting out of the business because they were going bankrupt. And I just kept calling and calling and calling and calling. I just kept growing and growing and growing. So that's all I knew was to prospect.
Do you think you got that from being Mormon?
I think it definitely helped for sure. I think there's a few elements. One is like I was hungry. I think that's a key element with any business. I was hungry because I grew up comfortable. My dad worked at the gas company for 40 years. My mom was a secretary for 42. And I'm so blessed. I earn more in a year now than it took my mom about 30 years, to earn. So, but I was hungry for something different than what I was told. What's that?
Are you giving back? You helping mom out now?
Oh yeah, dude, I got a great freaking parents. One of the things I do every day is I love my life journal, and I'm just so grateful my mom and dad are alive. And I would say the place where I serve the most is just like being there with them, with the grandkids. It lights them up. I'm blessed. I get to go skiing 2-3 times a week. You ever go skiing? Or you anti-ski?
I ski here and there.
You should come skiing. So I get to ski with my dad 2-3 times a week. Like, I think that's the greatest blessing is, we all going to die one day. I just wished I would have realized earlier. I went through this phase in my 20s. I don't know if you did this. I thought I knew everything. And then in my 30s, I realized I didn't know shit. And then in my mid 30s, I realized no one fucking knew a thing. And I thought the only thing that mattered was, at this point, it's just being with the people that are important and then contributing to others. And I wouldn't have turned out this way if it weren't for, my parents, 100%.
So my brother's Mormon. He thinks I should be Mormon, but I don't know. Now, here's what I do. Here's what I think
you should read that book, though.
Well, here's what I do know. Mormons, at least the ones I've met, walk the walk. You know what I'm saying? They, the whole 2-year mission thing, that's amazing that they'll do that. They seem to be like walking the talk, if that makes sense. Like they're all nice. Every Mormon I've ever known is really nice people.
Sure.
Like they put their money where, not their money. In other words, they go out and they give and they do the right thing. And they seem like the great folks. The only thing about the Mormon religion that I don't understand is where are these golden tablets?
Dude, they're gone right now. They're just gone.
Coincidentally, they're not anywhere to be found. Like, can't any religion ever just say, this is the story and there's the proof? It's always, well, you just got to have faith. And, well, we were going to do that, but they went poof and disappeared. And
I do know this. I mean, I don't know if this is a consolation. I'm not arguing for the church because I'm not active, and there's reasons why. But in the beginning of the book,
no. Let's go to the why.
So the end of my church, the end of my mission, I discovered an amazing book. You've read, everyone's read it, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Sure,
and I read it in Portuguese. And it was really an amazing experience reading. It was actually being in Brazil, where I've been programmed English my entire life. And now I have to translate and learn Portuguese. And then reading that book, that was the first time I became aware of patterns, like linguistics. And as I returned, I started getting around the people in the church here. And I said, I don't want that outcome for my life. So I need to move into a different direction. And I remember as I went through a phase of partying pretty hard. And one of my roommates, tattoos all over his body, selling cocaine, really cool dude. And he's actually super active in the church now. But at the time, he was just into drugs. He had this screamo band, and yet like he was the nicest dude I ever met. Like that was when I realized, okay, maybe it's not so black and white. Maybe there's this gray in between that you can actually be a great person and not be a Mormon. Maybe you can actually have a great life and not be a specific religion. And I just asked myself, what do I want to become in my life? More importantly, what does life want me to become? And I didn't jive with the mix. They got some great principles, eternal families, service, contribution. But for the most part, it's not what I wanted as an outcome. So that was why I left. That was why I shifted away.
Heavy duty, Rudy.
Which is tough. My dad's so cool about it. My dad he gets it, and he just loves me as a preacher. My mom's still like, hey, Colton, you're being a bad boy drinking coffee. Hey, Colton, you used to be so active. What's holding you up coming back, But my dad's just kind of said, hey, let him be. He's doing great things. So, what?
You know why? They probably went into the whole temple and did some work and eternally sealed you anyway.
Yeah, of course. When I was a kid, I was sealed, right? I've been through the temple. I've done all that stuff.
Yeah, that means you're safe. It's just like when people come to me and they're asking me about Jesus, and I'm like, well, first of all, that wasn't his name, Jesus. That wasn't his name. Secondly, they say, the Bible says, if you ask him into your heart to be your Lord and Savior, he will never leave you. And I did that when I was a kid. I also did it when I was like a young teenager. So guess what? According to that, if that's the truth, he's not leaving me just because I fall short. We all fall short, son.
Ain't that the truth? 100%.
But anyway, I know Mormons, a few of them, and they all seem to be great people. I didn't look far enough to make a decision. That's my fault. But I am looking around, and I am always seeking for the truth. And that's ultimately, I believe, what the goal is to seek the truth. Because if you believe the Mormon truth, bro, you'd be active in the church right now.
Sure.
What do you mean?
Sure.
You mean you don't want that for your life? Like, dude, if you believe that, then you don't believe the church.
Here's what I believe. I believe in God. Call it God, universe, source energy, whatever you want to call it. And I believe in me. And when we talk about accepting Jesus into the heart, I think it's like for whatever reason, there's a stage that I went through that my heart was really tight and I was holding in some negative energy. And as I discovered how to let that energy out and to open my heart and come to a space of contribution, I realized accepting Jesus, or whatever you want to call it, being saved, that's a state in this moment. It has nothing to do with passing some fucking test. And I think that's the challenge I have with any organized religion is fear drives it. And I want to drive my life through light and love and truth and peace, not through fear of that I'm not enough or that I fell short, or, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the way I grew up in the church. There's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, right? I go into the meet with the bishop. He'd ask how if I was good with masturbation, right? Like, you're not supposed to masturbate. I'm like, no, I'm great at fucking masturbation, right? But if you shared that, like, hey, you masturbated, then you became like shunned upon, like you were doing wrong. You were doing bad shit. And now looking back, dude, what teenage boy doesn't want to jerk off, right? Like it's this natural.
Rub one out?
No, heck no. It's wrong to do that. It's wrong to do that.
foolishness.
Right. So there's some things like, here's the other thing that like didn't make sense for me is they have part of their doctrines called the Doctrine and Covenants. It's like everything.
Dude, it's only wrong if you do it dry.
I'll make note of that. But like,
listen, I looked up this thing. It's called soaking. Now, are you familiar with the term soaking?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Like as long as you don't wiggle, it's not sex, right?
Yes. So again, this is where I start to draw the line myself. It's like, look, dude, all you're trying to do is get around what you already know is bad. Like, apparently the Mormon religion, you shouldn't have sex. Of course, there's a lot of religions like that. So what I heard are when you find a Mormon girl, they will let you soak, but they won't let you have sex. And basically soaking and not moving it around. So what happens if you change your mind a lot and you decide to soak and then don't decide to soak and then decide to soak and don't decide to soak and you just keep changing your mind really rapidly?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very indecisive person, right? So like, I think that still fits in God's loophole at that point. If you're indecisive, right? It's if you get decisive and you're like, oh, I'm doing this on purpose, then that's when it becomes, no, but like, it's that exact thing, right? Like, so in part of their doctrine is called the doctrine. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the whole idea on health, right? And then I go to these, like I went to my niece's baptism a few years ago, and it's the first time I've been in the church for a while. And there's just like all these overweight, unhealthy people. And I realized, right, like they'll drink gallons and gallons of Mountain Dew and Coca-Cola and eat all this processed foods. And yet then they're really looking down upon someone else that doesn't go to church, but's healthy, right? And I've heard that outside of Utah, the church is a little bit different. Inside of Utah, it's really cliquey. It's really really, you're either in or you're out, right?
If you're in, get advantages and like business advantages. Like, in other words, will Mormons hang with Mormons if they can?
I think in some areas for sure. Yeah. Like, so one of the offices I worked at earlier in my career, he was the owner of that company was a bishop. So that's the leader of the, ward there, the church. And he used that to his advantage big time to sell his ward members houses, so, but also people will use it for disadvantage. I know in the market crash, people were raising capital based on the fact that they were church leaders, and then they were not fulfilling on the deal. Several of those people are in prison now. And so it goes both ways. You can abuse that power, but there's an advantage for sure.
Yeah. Well, we all fall short. So whatever religion you are, man, as long as you're aware that you're not perfect, everybody's happy, I believe. And man, you got to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. Now, let me ask you this question. Your Instagram handle, if anybody wants to follow Colton, by the way, is at the WGR. I'm like, well, what's WGR? Well, you called yourself the world's greatest realtor, but someone basically said you can't do that. So you just went with WGR and it stuck. Oh. Now, that title obviously means that you're pretty confident that you can freaking make a lot of money. You can teach people how to make a lot of money. From what I've heard, between $500,000 $1 million a year doing the same amount or less work than they're doing now, 20% of the work.
Yeah, I think you could do it with less. So when I say it's 20% of the sales production, right? So right now, here's the challenge. I grew up comfortable. I don't know how you grew up. So my parents, made $100,000 together growing up. So to me, that was like the ceiling. I never thought that I could have $100,000, $200,000 or more a month. I didn't know that was possible. And so most people here in real estate, they didn't grow up rich. So they get in, they start making their first $150,000, $250,000, and they were trained like working class people to spend their money on liabilities. So realtors will get into these traps and they'll invest in a liability, the new Range Rover before they should buying it. They don't manage their cash flow. They're avoiders. And the next thing you know, market shifts and they can't drop their liability expenses fast enough. And so they're stressed out of their mind. And I've always been interested in financial freedom, where your leveraged residual income pays for your desired lifestyle. Well, you work because you choose to, not because you have to. And so I was able to move through that stage and realize, like, hey, if I invested in assets, then I don't have to work hard. I don't think working hard is the secret. I think doing what you don't feel like doing, I don't feel like doing this. If I do that, which then you can create the success. And so I believe realtors, and I've done it myself, and I've trained a lot of agents to do it. You can make $500,000, 7 figures a year, and you're not out there grinding on the cells. You're not working 29 hours a day, 8 days a week, like most realtors, just to pay your liabilities. And then you can spend your time. It's not like you're going to sit on your ass, but you're going to spend your time being creative. You're going to spend your time investing. You're going to spend your time creating content. You're going to spend your time skiing with the important people in your life. That's how I look at it.
Well, someone's got to do the work. Who's doing it?
So here's my belief is you can create an organization with a specific culture, a culture of coachability, a coachable of wanting feedback, a culture of wanting to grow and contribute. And it's based off the values that you build in your organization. And you create a process of hiring and finding and recruiting these talented individuals that they see the vision that you've painted, and their vision fits inside of that because they want to grow. They want to create that leverage residual income. And there's plenty of opportunity. Look inside of the business you've created. Some of the people that have been with you for a long time, their life opportunity is expanded just by being into that vision. And so you can create that. It comes from a space of service. And I think that's the challenge, at least with most real estate companies. It's always been the agent works for the leader. And I don't think it's that way. I think that the leader is there to serve and contribute and add value based on his or her gifts to the people that choose to be in his organization. But they have to have the value system. They got to be willing to be an A-team player as opposed to a C-team player. And that's a skill set to learn how to find those people.
Well, my motto here at Lightspeed is, the beatings will continue until the morale improves. So ultimately it's fear. I just put everybody at fear. I'm joking, but
I get it. Fear like the Mormon church makes sense.
Yeah. Would you rather be feared or loved?
Me as a person be feared or loved? I think 95% of the time I'd rather be loved. 5% I'd rather be fucking feared. And I think that moment comes, it's like a warrior moment, right? There's times where you have to be a fucking gladiator, but I think most of the time you can be in a wizard state where you flow with it,
A wizard state. I like that. Hey, how did I get introduced to you? Was it Jay Duran?
Yeah, it was Jay. Yeah.
Jay's an interesting character. Now I know why you want to talk to you. You're an interesting character, Colton Lindsay.
You're an interesting character, Bradley. I didn't even know you exist until Jay said, "Hey, you should connect with these guys."
Oh, bro, I exist.
Oh, clearly.
I've existed longer than you've existed. I could have been your dad.
Have you though? Have you existed longer than I have? Maybe like mortally, but think about that. What'd you have for lunch 2 weeks ago? Do you remember?
Yes. Do you?
2 weeks ago? I don't remember what I had 2 weeks ago. I'm sure it involved green smoothie and probably something around like sprouts or something.
Dude, if we're all beings and these are just bodies that we're currently in experiencing. So if Bradley's just an experience that my being is currently, the focus point that I'm currently at in my trillions of years of existence, I existed before you. I'm a bigger being, older than you. You know how I know?
How do you know? How many lifetimes you lived so far, Brad?
I don't know, but I'm, whatever it is, it's older than you, at least by 1 year. Colton, you look familiar to me. I don't know why. Who do people say you look like?
Oof, over the years, I've got Marky Mark. That's usually when I'm shaved, and then Val Kilmer in his younger days. Let's not go there in his older days, because he looks like he is. I'm talking like Doc Holliday type Val Kilmer. You know what I mean? From Tombstone.
Val Kilmer took a freaking dirt road all of a sudden, didn't he?
He took a wrong turn. He saw a fork in the road and picked it up for sure, man.
Like dude, Val Kilmer is one of the coolest dudes ever, right? And then all of a sudden, one day you see him and he's just like, what happened?
I don't know.
Looks like he ate donuts for like a year straight. Dude, I see on your shirt it's WGR Academy event staff. Now, do you do live WGR Academy?
Yeah. Well, I did back in pre-COVID-19. I've got one postponed right now because I don't know what. I actually I was supposed to do one in August at the Caesar's Palace at one of their venues. Huh?
Don't be a puss.
It's not about being a puss. No, it's not about being a puss. It's about, okay, where fuck that, it's not. It's about where can I put my my energy, my time, my attention, and I have just as much or better opportunity to grow with our online sales calls than I do putting time, effort, and energy to host an event and get 500 people there.
Well, dude, you don't put time, effort, and energy. You hire someone to put time, effort, and energy. And put 500 people there is fun, bro. It's fun. Those events are fun, man. Like right now.
So
I've got,
when is yours?
Well, again, I just want to have 100 people. It's not an event per se. It's 2 days. I'm gonna invite 100 people, 2 days to hang out, and then a night to party, and then the next day pool party, and then it's 4th of July. So spend 4th of July weekend in Las Vegas. We're open back up. I want to see who's brave enough, who's smart enough, and who's willing to come out to Vegas and hang for a couple days, man. And no, dude, I have online. I preach online, virtual event just as easily with much less investment, time, and energy, and actually even train people better. But see, when they come here live, it's really for the relationship. It's for the fun. It's for the jokes. It's for the handshake.
Well, we do though. Like I have my mastermind event. I got about 50 people in July coming to here in Wolf Creek, Powder Mountain. It's a little mountain town. Awesome. So, and I've got another one in November in South Florida. So, I mean, it's not like I'm not doing live events, but that's for my paying customers. So the big event, like I'm supposed to do in Vegas, that's an attractor event. And so selling 500 tickets to agents to fly right now, I don't think is my best attention focus.
You know what I mean?
I just think that there's better ways to get a higher rate of return with less risk, right? I got to put 100, 150 grand into hosting an event in Vegas and sell those tickets, where I could put less into that and make way higher return at with other pieces in my business right now. I mean, you got to understand, I think you know this as well as anyone. You have different stages of business, right? So I'm not a $10 million a year business yet. And if I was a $10 million a year business, I could afford to hire out that, right? Plus I have a lifestyle. Right now I have a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. She just turned 5, and I have an 8-year-old. So I don't want to work more than 4 days a week right now. I want to spend time with my little girls.
Now see, that's what it's all about, my friend.
They're only this age once. You know what I mean?
I got a 5 and 7-year-old, beautiful little ones. Whenever I'm home, I'm like having fun. And then after a little while, I'm thinking, dude, I need to go to the office and write some scripts and film some content and close some deals. And then I'll come to the office and start writing scripts and closing deals. And I'll think, man, I want to go home and hang with the kids. Well, this COVID really made me realize, dude, the only reason anyone needs to come to my office anymore is to film content, right? Editors can work from home. Everybody can work from home except for basically whoever films, someone in the studio. So I'm starting to make moves to where I'll have two studios, one in Nashville, one in Vegas, and people can come in here and take advantage of our services. And I could operate with 60 some employees, but only 4 of them working at a physical location when the schedule demands. Otherwise, I'm going to go virtual. Other than these live events, I'm building out a luxury classroom downstairs. A luxury classroom. No one's got a luxury. Have you ever been to a facility that's like?
I don't even know what that means. Like, what's a luxury classroom? You got like nice seats, some nice floor.
Beautiful seats, beautiful facilities, beautiful amenities, kick-ass audio, visual, sound, projection, the whole bit, dude. A badass class. It's only going to fit 120. It's not meant to be in a big event center, but that's where I'm doing my event. Okay, July 2nd and 3rd, brother. Maybe I'll have you come down and speak.
As long as you don't make me wear a mask, bro, I'm there. Like if you make me wear a mask, I don't know.
Dude, I don't make you wear a mask. Why would I want to harm you? I think masks are restricting people's oxygen levels. And I think, again, I don't necessarily fall to the conspiracy side where they're doing it on purpose so we all die. Like that's a little bit conspiracy.
Yeah.
However, I think they're doing it out of naivety or ignorance. Like, dude, if you all day long, you are breathing less oxygen and more carbon monoxide than you are if you don't have a mask on. And the COVID specifically passes in and out the microns are so small that the mask does not block, or at least most of the masks that are out there walking around, they don't block COVID. So it freely flows in and out. So what are you wearing a mask for? So you can be identified as a follower,
you know why I would wear one is just so they can't have that facial recognition when I'm out in public. You know what I mean? Like, so I can't fall into that trap. You know what I'm saying? But
you're like an out.
I follow suit just to not follow suit. You know what I mean? It's like blending in without blending out. There's another
like Wahlberg, aren't you?
Yeah, another interesting fact. So right around 2000, after the crash, 08, it was 07, 08, I went through a small stint of deep state conspiracy myself, right? So I think there's this balance between very far, like naive, just ignorance. You have no fucking clue. And then I think there's this other side, which is so far wild conspiracy, like Alex Jones shit, where like they're trying to turn into immortality and become like aliens and shit. But I think there's this place in the middle. And when we talk about saving your soul, I think that's the place you got to reside in. You have to decide now for yourself. And I think this is the first time on such a high level globally, people are forced into a space of curiosity and to question the narrative. And I'm not saying that the narrative's right or wrong, but I'm saying you better fucking question it. And then you better decide for yourself. Don't rely on me or Brad or President Trump or Obama or whoever the fuck to make your decisions. And I think that's the cool thing about this experience. I think it's forcing people to realize, hey, I can be responsible for my actions. If they don't, I mean, that's another fucking thing. But
great awakening.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing in for sure for humanity.
Well, dude, if you ever get big time famous, because much like me, you didn't know who I was. I didn't know who you were, and we're both changing that rapidly. See, now I know who you are, and you definitely know who I am.
Yeah. Now, we're gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out in Vegas. I don't have my kids over the 4th. Maybe I'll come hang out with you.
Yeah. So when you get famous, bro, and you check into hotels and you don't want to be hounded, I say that you mix the two people you said you look like, which is Val Kilmer and Mark Wahlberg, and you check in under Val Wahlberg and or Mark Kilmer.
That's what I'm absolutely going to do that. I'm Val Wahlberg.
If you're going incognito, you just go under Val Wahlberg or Mark Kilmer. That's your name.
I got a question. What do you think social media, how it's shifting as far as scaling business right now? I have this sense that, and I got lost in this for a minute. Like it was all about, how can I get followers, right? Right now, I don't fucking care about followers. I care about what's my ad spend, what's my lead cost, what's my cost of conversion of a person. But what are you seeing as a mistake that maybe your followers or realtors are making on social media today? Or maybe that I'm even making that I could shift and do differently?
Well, number one is you said I stopped caring about followers. I think that's probably because it's not as easy to get followers, real ones, and you gave up because you said I care about ad spend, lead costs, and those things. Now, again, that's intelligent for a minute until you realize that the followers would drop drastically all of those options you're looking at. So, for example, I can get on social media with just my limited amount of followers, and I can say, hey, I've got a T-shirt. And I love it, and you should buy it. Swipe up and sell 1,500, 2,000 T-shirts in a couple days. Well, I didn't spend any ad cost. I didn't have any, cost at all. So the followers are valuable in that you can monetize with no effort. However,
so like your network, you're talking like building your network, and Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook's just one way to stay in touch with those followers, correct?
Well, again, I mean, to me, followers, you can reach for free because they follow you. So you're spending ad spend and have lead costs and ROAS and all the little, acronyms that Facebook advertisers use. And you're right, because when it boils down to it, dude, you can reach as many people as I can. It'll just cost you more. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because I follow it.
Well, you spend money. You spend money on ads.
I spend $875 a day for closer school. It nets me about 15 grand a week. And I do it as a model because my real business, where I make the millions, is Lightspeed. And I deal with subject matter experts like yourself. And I try to show them how easy it is to make, decent recurring revenue by virtualizing what they know and putting it online. Our system's like the Rolls Royce of doing it. So you might say, well, you have something online. Yeah, but you don't really have what we have. You have
Clearly
what they have. Yeah. So
sure.
At the end of the day, I spend that money as an example so I can prove what I'm saying. Like, I don't like being what's called a fat trainer. I don't want to walk out all fat and then tell you how to do sit-ups and push. So I had to build a system of my own called Closer School. It teaches people how to sell, close, persuade, become a better human, be nicer, more ethical, get confidence, self-esteem, and things like that. But I spend $875 a day. I don't scale it, and it's a model to show. Now I'm starting to think about scaling it because I'm sitting there going, damn, dude, 10, 15 grand a week and I ain't doing anything. Like, I don't talk to people. They just joined the master class. And then I started this weekly sales coaching called Closer School Live, where I say it's an hour a week, but really it's 2 or 3. And I'm bringing in all my high level buddies only because it's fun. And it's $37 a month, bro. So again, there's maybe 1,000 people paying it, but only 50, 60, 70 a week show up, which is crazy.
Yeah, that seems.
Yeah, it's making like 37 grand a month, and it's fun. But to your point, Colton, you're right. Anybody that doesn't have followers is not screwed. The reason you want followers is to reach people easier and quicker. Like Oprah Winfrey, when she had her show, she could talk about a book and have the book sell 1 million copies over because of her show. So the show is followers, viewers, followers, same thing. So it is important to get followers, and it is important, but you don't need them, as you discovered, which is why you said I stopped caring about them, because I can go buy those followers, and you can. People always think
let me rephrase that. I'm not focused on growing my followership organically. Obviously, if you go look at my Instagram, we put out consistent content, we put out video, we put out free value. But I look at more of building a network, and then having this message that I can deliver to them over and over again. And I think there's several different ways to do that, right? You know what I'm really grateful for is to meet guys like you. I've met a lot in the last 2 years, year and a half. I've met a lot of guys between 45 and 55. And it gives me this like excitement of what my next 10 to 20 years can look like. What were you doing at 35? I'd love to hear what you were doing at 35.
Hiding cars from the repo, man. I just followed you back. Yeah, you got 40,000 followers. So again, I mean, dude, if you leverage those 40,000, it basically gets you free advertisement. So that's my value.
I do. And my Mickey, a guy that works with me, he behind the camera, I mean, he does these swipe ups and some stuff that lead to strategy calls and into our funnels and stuff for sure. Yeah. So we're leveraging it, but it's not the only way. It's not my major focus. Let's get famous. Let's get Instagram famous by posing in front of some cars,
Yeah, I don't do that either. I mean, people are following me because they saw me on Instagram TV or someone that I do business with, like, spotlighted me. And so people follow me. Then they start thinking I'm funny, or, the way I deliver my message, or the fact that I just cut it straight. People like it. A lot of people don't. Like, I'll get 6,000-7,000 followers a week, but I'll lose 3,000 or 4,000. But whatever, you asked the question. I think if any business out there really wants to get serious and raise their let's call it branding, their social media presence, I would agree with you. They don't need to focus on a bunch of followers. They need to focus on advertising and doing it correctly, like the Venus flytrap, or warming up a cold audience and targeting people correctly. But this whole notion of a funnel is all you need is stupid. The funnel takes a copywriter.
Well, you have to fill the funnel, right? Like, you have to fill the funnel is what the marble goes down, but you've got to get the marble into the funnel or it doesn't work.
Yeah. So you're right. People can buy that. It's not that important, but what is important to understand about social media is how bad it can rip your asshole wide open if you are out there fucking people. Dude, serious. Like, dude, the people don't understand. You better be an ethical person, and then you better run an ethical business, because nowadays with social media, I can say one bad thing about your company and get a lot of people that were about to use you to not use you.
Oh,
So
for sure.
Reputation, I think, is more at stake than ever. And if you ask me, when back in the days of the warrior, back in the days of the gladiator, remember when Brad Pitt said in that movie, someone said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that." And he goes, "And that's why no one will remember your name." So back in the day,
Brad Pitt, or wasn't that? I thought that was Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
I thought it was Brad Pitt when he played Achilles.
Oh, I must be thinking of a different movie then. I was thinking of Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
Oh, maybe it was that, and no one will remember your name. But anyway, I always watch those gladiator movies. But the point being is, back in those days, man, reputation was everything. They wanted to live on even after they died. So in this version, social media is pretty important. So again, I would focus on social media branding and keep it to where, like, you're doing it to maintain reputation and to spread knowledge and to spread.
Well, I think that goes back to what we talked about when you talk about Jesus saving your soul. To me, that is saving your soul. Can you act in an authentic way to where you're honest with folks in such a way that you don't really care what their response is? Not that you don't want people to not come into your organization, but you want to polarize that, right? Like you said, you will gain 7 and lose 3, but you're not going to not be authentic Brad just to please.
Correct.
And I think that's got to be, in my opinion, key with your life, and social media is a way to share with that, to put that out there to your followers, to your network.
Yeah, I call it authenticity. And I'm telling you right now, if everybody would be more authentic and do exactly what you just said, they would get they would find happiness and peace more quickly, only because when you fake it, you attract people that are attracted to your facade. And so ultimately you never find that warmth and that community and that tribe, only because you faked it. You're trying to worry about what everyone else thinks. But if you just keep it authentic, yeah, you might lose followers, but in my opinion, you're supposed to lose those followers, but you're also going to attract the right people. So if you're a weirdo, a bunch of more weirdos are going to like the fact that you're weird. And if you're and you know, whatever the case may be, I think authenticity is key. So what is your,
you know, I learned that as well is, so I'm 35 and single. I got divorced a couple of years ago, which has been such a great blessing in my life, but is dating in your mid-30s, in my mid-30s, and having the ability to be authentic and honest with the woman without regards to what she fucking cares. And the more I've done that, then there's like, I have my choice of women. And then you get to identify what type of woman that you want. Like right now, I'm totally fine not being in a relationship. I love where I'm at in my space. But I know this in the olden days when I dated. You ever heard of Neil Strauss? Wrote a book called, what was it? The Game. You ever hear that book? It might be before your time or after your time. Sorry, not before, after your time. But it was a whole secret world of pickup artists.
It's still my time, motherfucker, just so you know.
I mean, before your dating time. It might have been after your dating time, because you don't date now because you're married, right?
Correct.
So you probably date other women less than you used to, is my guess at this point.
I don't date any women.
Right, exactly. So you would, but it's a whole community of pickup artistry, which was basically training men to be a fake version of themselves to fuck women. And so, like, just like in businesses and dating, for all you single folks out there, if you come from that authentic space and you can be honest with the person of what your needs are, and because there's a bit of anxiety, well, what if I'm honest and they reject me, or they're upset with me because I fucked up or I made a mistake or this or that. But if you can do that in dating, you will have your choice of partners, and you will have a partner that works well with you if you decide to be in a relationship. I think that's the other thing I've learned, which is not talked about with business owners, and I wish it was, single business owners, is that so many men, they move into relationship out of almost like forced into it because they kind of fell into it, as opposed to, I decided now I want to share a romantic relationship with a woman, and here's the selection process I'm going through. I wished I would have been taught that before I was married the first time.
Yeah, well, in order for people to do that, though, Colton, they got to be pretty comfortable with themselves, what I call themselves, like themselves. Like for you to be alone for a month straight and then actually enjoy it and not worry about not having somebody with you, that's the skill in and of itself. I'm the type of dude that as soon as I broke up with a girl, I'd have to get me another one. Why? Well, because, dude, I obviously had some sort of insecurity and self-loathing that I didn't want to be alone. I felt like if I were alone, I was bored and I wasn't worth anything. So as soon as I lost one, I'd go grab another. As soon as I lost one, I'd go grab another. Now that I'm older and not dating, if I were to get divorced now, I would be wise enough to know. And dude, at 35, I was a jack off. I was building Lightspeed. I was running around, trying to build the company. I was helping people learn to sell and close for the first couple, actually about a year. And then I realized, holy shit, I need to start focusing on the platform to go close the experts. So I stopped being an expert. I stopped being the world's greatest and started helping the world's greatest. And that's what made me I'll tell you, for people to understand, the more you help other people authentically, the more opportunities you'll get. Because before 30, dude, all I wanted to do was get rich and make money for me. Everything was about me. I sold you. If I did something for you, it was ultimately for me. Yeah. And then I accidentally helped someone selflessly, and it was like a freaking cool feeling. And then I realized, dude, I can help others, which was the main goal, and make money. So the money became the not important, and the helping people became the important. And that's when the whole world kind of opened up, which was crazy because you hear people say, you need to serve others, serve people. And people don't get what that means. And you can't fake it. Like, okay, I'll serve others just so I can get rich. No, you're missing the point. You don't serve others so you can get rich, because ultimately that means you're serving others for yourself. Yeah. You need to authentically and openly and honestly just try to help other people, put you secondary. And that's when all of a sudden these universal laws open up.
Well, I think that's the P. Like, that's what I'm most passionate about with the mastermind. So I focus on 3 areas. One, scaling your business for realtors. Do more deals, make more money, right? That's every program out there is to make more money for realtors. And that's what a lot of them are searching. Step 2, though, they've never been taught, is the financial freedom, cash flow management, manage your fucking money. But number 2 is create tax-free wealth. Keep more of that and spend less on a tax bill to scale your business. But the real thing that I'm passionate about is the third piece, which is the fulfillment, the psychological and the emotional state. Because even though I was making $500,000, 750 years a realtor selling houses, I was fucking miserable, dude. I was smoking joints, driving to my listing appointments, because I could, just like you said, sitting with yourself for a month and being okay with it and enjoying it. Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I thought that the money was, I could out hustle my problems. I could make enough money to get happy, which it doesn't happen. So I almost trick people with what they want, making money, which every realtor wants that. But I fucking deliver that authenticity through our events, man. Like, I take them through these fucking breath works where they undo their heart to where they can move to that spot you're talking about. That's the fucking reason I do what I do. And I think once I was able to get to that space, not that the money's not important. I want to make fucking money. I don't know who doesn't want to make money, but it's secondary to the space of the emotion I get when I have a conversation like this, or when I see someone have that breakthrough that shifts their life forever. And then when we talk about whether we're going to die one day or not, and what happens after that, I don't think it matters. I think what matters at this moment is timeless, and your emotional state is the only fucking thing you really have. So how are you're gonna move through suffering? You're gonna fear, anxiety, worry, doubt. Not that those aren't valuable to signal you to shift your awareness, but are you gonna suffer in that state, or are you gonna go to a space of joy and peace and excitement and enthusiasm? That, to me, is the real freedom that you're talking about.
Yeah, and people don't realize that's just a choice.
Simple choice. In the moment.
You know the reason for suffering?
The choice. They want to suffer.
No. That is, by the way, a choice, but the reason for suffering.
Tell me.
Go ahead. You got to take a guess, or I'm going to be silent.
It's the dichotomy of life. If you don't know the pain, you can't feel the win. You can't feel the peace.
Well, I don't necessarily buy that, but you would know the difference. But yes, the reason for suffering, my friend, is to basically eliminate impurity.
Oh, fuck. Then you're going to go start talking ayahuasca and peyote, sweat lodges.
I don't do it.
I don't do any of that, but I've done that. And I'm saying that was a space of suffering to purify that I don't want to do anymore. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but no, that is the reason you suffer. Suffering is for making you get rid of the impurities.
Right.
So if somebody's sitting there suffering, that means that their thoughts, their actions, their habits, there are incorrect thoughts, habits, and things in your life which is causing you to suffer. It could just be your simple thoughts. I know people that think their life is miserable, and so their life is miserable. And then somebody else thinks their life is amazing, and their life is amazing. And it doesn't matter what I think. I could roll up to your house and be like, dude, you live in this shithole and you're as fucking happy as possible. Dude, and to you, that is the sweetest house on earth. My perception of where you live and what you live like makes no difference on yours. And if you can live like that, where other people's perceptions and opinions do not affect yours, dude, you are fucking living.
That's the sweet spot. Purification. I went through that connects with me in the sense of my first experience with purification that I was aware was in the middle of the Mojave Desert with Chief Hawk going through a sweat lodge. And I wished that I didn't have to, I'm glad I did it, but I wished I didn't choose to suffering through fucking sweat lodges and peyote and ayahuasca, which has become so very fucking popular today. But I wish that I would have just done it that way that you talked about. For me, breathing is the way that I can have that shift of purification within myself now. I don't need that other stuff. But that's that same concept. That's why it's so popular right now.
Well, you basically quit Mormonism because you couldn't jack off.
Yeah, well, not because I couldn't jack off, but I could jack off. I was actually really great at it. It was fantastic.
The word you used in the beginning that I wanted to make this whole episode on, but because dropping bombs is more informal and it just leads to whatever, we went off on a bunch of things that I think people are going to find value in. And the true value is what we just talked about. If someone can just identify that happiness is a choice, it's a choice, man. If you're unhappy, you're choosing to be. So at the end of the day, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how many limbs you have. I don't care what your health condition is. Technically, if you're living and you're alive and you're unhappy, it's a choice. And if you guys got to rewind and listen to what we were just talking about, it is the truth. He learned it the hard way. I learned it the hard way. Again, by the way, if you wouldn't have done all that ayahuasca or whatever they call ayahuasca or whatever that shit is, you probably would have learned it eventually. That's why I'm writing this book called The Hard Way is Lessons I Learned the Hard Way, so you don't have to. It's if you would have read my book at 18 years old and followed what's in it, you would have learned all those things without all the pain and suffering. And that's the reason I'm writing the book. Because, dude, you don't have to go through the pain and suffering to learn it. Some people do. I had to. I wouldn't have listened to you even if you told me. But at the end of the day, now that I'm an old man, I'm an old G. But let's go, because I'm running out of time. I don't want to lose the word that you used at the beginning of the show, because I think anyone, entrepreneur, salesperson, anybody can value from the word you used and the thing that you realized back in the day that I think made the shift for you. And you said the word, you didn't realize, you said prospect. I didn't know how to prospect, or I wasn't aware that I had to prospect.
Yep.
Okay. So you must have figured out a way to prospect, because you're like me. I tell people, you want more, do more. Okay. You want to make more money, sell more houses. You just said it. So How do you sell a house? Well, you talk to more people. Well, how do you talk to more people? Well, you better figure out how to prospect. Do you teach people a unique way of prospecting?
Yeah. I mean, not a unique way. It's the fucking best way, which is you get on the phone and you start having conversations with people. And I think there's 4 different major ways you can generate leads and appointments quickly. I think no matter what level you are in real estate, you're brand fucking new. You can be starting to set 3 to 5 appointments every single week. You can start by calling. What's that?
You have work? Do you give them word tracks or something?
Oh, you mean a script? Yeah, I give them a fucking script. Use the magic question. Works 100% of the time to know if these people are fucking crazy or not. And you set an appointment. You go on the appointment. You give a presentation, which is a word track, as you call it, a script. You give the presentation. You get the contract signed. You move them into the next script, which is your customer journey, the customer experience. Then you move into the post-customer experience. And then you start to – it's just a cycle of just building a network of people. But no matter what level you're at, you can start to A, build a network of people that know you, like you, trust you. B, people are raising their hand. Hey, I want to sell my house, which is for sale by owners or expired sellers. C, there's always cold call prospecting. I have some of the most amazing clients from just fucking picking open a phone book. I started with a phone book, but now obviously I don't need that. There's neighborhood search and stuff. There's tools like Mojo Sells, auto dialers, where you can start fucking calling people. Then when you get to that point, you can start to hire what are called inside sales agents or callers, and then they're fucking calling for you, and you transfer your knowledge, your skill set to them, and then they can be starting to set more appointments. The person that can generate appointments is going to be the business killer. If you can master that skill, then you'll have agents that will be dying to be on your fucking team because they can't create that.
Agreed. That's why I wanted to touch on that, folks. Prospecting, being able to get in front of more people. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. You know, I teach it all day, every day in closer school. Like, people don't understand, man. I would rather have an average salesperson talk to 1,000 people than a great salesperson talk to no one. And I'm telling you right now, the average salesperson will outperform the great one every single time. And it all boils down to one simple principle. The more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Yeah, it's simple. It is that simple. That's why when the market was crashing in 07, 08, I started growing and scaling my business. People were running in fear, trying to make deals with their banks as they're losing shit. I had nothing to lose. I just started talking to even more people. I knew that if I talked to a person, I would make $97. So I said, let's talk to more fucking people. I knew that if I went on an appointment, I made $2,200. So I started getting on more appointments. That's the key.
And it's so simple. I don't understand why most people don't understand the basic principle.
Well, it goes back to that space of authenticity. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they hang up on me? What if I sound like an idiot? Right? And you know what it is when you go on these appointments, Brad, your goal and your focus should not be to convince them to do business with you. It should convince them that you're fucking convinced they should do business with you. If you're not convinced, you're not going to set appointments. If you're not convinced, you're not going to get on the phone. If you're not convinced, you're not going to get the contract signed. You've got to be convinced yourself.
So what you're saying basically is the first sale you got to make is the selling yourself.
100% over and over again. Like, even at this point in my career, I don't know if you're in this stage and you outgrow it. I haven't outgrown it yet. I have to resell myself on me sometimes, right? Like I'll tell you a time I had to resell myself was in March, right when the NBA shut down. And I think it was that same exact time. I have to look at the dates. We had an earthquake here in Utah. And so all of a sudden my mind goes to that conspiracy shit I had a decade ago of, okay, fuck. We've got earthquakes happening. We've got grocery stores shutting down. We've got lockdowns happening to go across the country. And I'm thinking I got to fucking start the apocalypse in my back fucking yard, right? Now all of a sudden, wait a second, we're not out and about. How am I going to shift my business quickly? It's very quick. I realized I was already doing it virtually. And that was the first time I realized that I was already doing it in my real estate sales business. Here's what I believe right now too, Brad. COVID right now had just made it okay to never have to step foot in a fucking house again to sell it. And you could have already done that before through Zoom. As a realtor, you could start setting up virtual Zoom listing appointments, have them send you a video of the property, give the presentation via Zoom, have them sign it via DocuSign, and you leverage it out to staff or team or whatever. You never have to leave your fucking kitchen table again to sell and make 7 figures in real estate.
And you can stay home all you want.
Yeah, if you want to, which would be fucking lame, but you could. And I think the only reason why I look at it as effectiveness and efficiency. So if I don't have to drive 45 minutes to the appointment now and 45 minutes back as a realtor, I just saved me an hour and a half that I can go generate more appointments.
Dude, that's strong shit, man. Listen, hey, I might want you back. I do want to have you come back for another episode. We can do a part 2 on this deal. Folks, if you guys want to follow this gentleman, Colton Lindsay, go to the 5levels.com with the number, not spelling it out, the number 5levels.com. and see what he's got to teach. You're teaching people. Is it an online course of some kind?
Yeah, so I've got two programs. I got the Alliance, which is for people making less than 150K. The whole focus is get you to 150K so you can start to cash flow manage, you can start to leverage. Okay. So if you go to that website you mentioned, you can take a quiz, find out what level you are as a realtor, schedule a business strategy call with me or my team. And then the second part is the mastermind, which is it's for 150 and above to get you to that $500,000 to $1 million mark where you're doing less than 20% of the sales production. And when you get to that level, it's all about leverage and leadership. And that's the skill that is not taught in real estate today. Great salespeople can be great leaders, but you got to learn how to shift that skill set.
Who did the graffiti behind you?
A guy named Richard Ramos. So this is my office. I had this vision. It was an old warehouse. It was just a storage. I had him build out office space, and I had him come in and graffiti my values, my core values on my wall.
Nice. Dude, you're just like a cool dude, aren't you?
I think I'm a cool dude, but that's all that matters.
Dude, how long you gonna keep the beard?
I don't know. Like I had it going during ski season, and then I shaved it because I was like, oh fuck, maybe this COVID's real, and it's like a little nest for COVIDs, right? And then I was like, nah, fuck this shit. I want the beard back. And now I'm here, and it's like everyone asks me about the beard, so I think I'm gonna leave it because it becomes a talking point. Are you
gonna mow it?
I don't know. Maybe one day. I haven't thought about mowing it recently.
It looks a little puffy right here.
It is. It's funny because it grows not right here. I was thinking about getting me some Copenhagen beard growing.
It grows like a mutton chop.
Yeah, but I like it during ski season. It makes me feel like cool. You know what I mean?
Do you think if someone punched you with the beard, it would hurt less?
No, I would think it would hurt equally as much, truthfully.
Every time I see a beard, I think, man, they got more padding. That's not fair. I go with this beard level here only for two reasons. One, as you can see, as it starts to grow out, it starts to get a little bit gray. And I don't know why I'm not real gray up here, but this gets gray. I don't really like the full-on gray beard look, even though a lot of it's dark still. But the real reason is, dude, I can't get past the itch and the ability. Like as soon as it gets to where it's like itchy, I'm like, dude, I got it.
That's only 1 week, just 1 week, and then it goes beyond the itch.
It does?
Yeah, 1 week. Just let it go out 1 week past the itch,
and then it doesn't itch.
No itch after that.
Well,
the only itch you'll have is if you trim on the neck. I get a little itch when I trim on the neck after.
Yeah, but I like to be groomed. I like the 5 o'clock shadow look.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's not a real beard, dude. Beards don't respect that. My buddy Andy Frisella and all his, Diesel brothers and
Diesel Dave,
all the beard dudes. They'll come to town one time, and I'm like, Andy was in town. I'm like, hey, let me know if you guys are around. I'll be in town too. Hang out. And so 3 days goes by, he doesn't call me. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, do I need a beard to hang out with you guys? And he said, yeah.
do you know Diesel Dave and Dave Kiley, the Diesel brothers?
No, I've heard a lot about them, man. I hear they're good dudes, but I've never got to meet them.
I haven't seen them in quite a while. They've done some really cool shit with their business. I used to ride motocross with Dave Kiley, and they're just, what's cool about them is they're just fucking wild. They're just, which is they went for it, right? So when they went for it, crazy cool things can happen.
Amen to that, brother. Let me bomb that. If more people understood that, they'd have a better life. I mean, I don't know why people are so safe. Like everybody just wants to be safe.
Well, stay safe, stay home, stay, here. But I think people forget that we live on a fucking rock in the middle of outer space, floating by a ball of burning fucking gas, close enough we don't burn, or that we don't freeze, but far enough away we don't burn. And Gary Vee says, I don't know if this is scientific or not, 1 in 400 trillion chance that my sperm was the winner. Sounds like a pretty fucking miracle, right? Like I had to go from it from the fucking get-go. If I had 400 other trillion motherfuckers trying to beat me out.
Yeah, but how do you know the sperm individually is what made you?
Fuck, I don't even know if it was the sperm. The sperm created my body, maybe. I'm not a scientist.
Maybe all the sperm would have produced the same sumbitch.
Maybe. Fuck. Who knows?
Same.
I don't fucking know.
As long as one of them got in there, doesn't matter.
So I was all those sperms. Then is what you're saying.
Could be. Who knows?
I could buy that.
I know that you definitely evolved over the last 35 years into a wise, sage individual at a young whippersnapper age of 35.
I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment from someone like you. Thank you.
And you're up there in Utah, apparently getting your selection of the fine offerings.
Yeah, I'm learning the selection process. I'm for sure learning it.
Soaking with anybody or?
I got a gal I'm dating. Yeah, she's pretty cool. She's a really cool gal. I like her a lot.
Does she let you do more than soak, or is it just soaking?
I mean, we have great sex for sure.
But she must not be Mormon.
No, she's not Mormon. No, she's not.
Because a devout Mormon, like a real practicing, like you say, what was the words you used? I
don't remember now. An active Mormon.
Yeah, active. So I would imagine if you're trying to be a really good active Mormon, you try to obviously observe all of the rules that they give you. But if like any religion, if just because you're an active Mormon doesn't mean you're doing everything right, correct?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like there's a lot of people that go to church that are definitely not living those standards for sure. And I think, we look at sex. I had to learn this through, I kind of went through a fuck fest after my divorce, and I had to learn how that actually steals energy. That actually steals energy in itself. And so you look at the principle of celibacy or not fucking around, you can readjust your attention and energy into something else for sure. So it definitely makes sense.
Think and Grow Rich, chapter 16, sexual transmutation, my friend.
It took me this long to get what he was talking about from when I read that book in my early 20s. I just thought I couldn't.
Sounds like yoga.
I fucking love yoga, dude. Yoga is my freaking, I love Bikram because it fucking pushes my limits in that 105 degree temperature. But then I love yin because yin, I can just pretty much do a body stretch meditation for 90 minutes. And that's my space where I check out, I would say I still have a tendency to check this. I don't know if you ever do. And so that's a space where I give myself permission to walk away from that thing. I think that's what's weird. I also go on walks without it, and it feels really fucking weird because I remember life without one in the 90s and without a phone at all. And now for me, it feels weird if I don't have it. And so I test myself, like take shits without it, go on walks without it, do yoga with it or without it, go on hikes without it, do things that consciously force myself to separate from it. And yoga is one of those spaces.
Mental toughness. Let's talk about that next time you come. Folks, if you guys liked what you heard, go to @the WGR and follow Colton, or just go to the5levels.com. Hit him up, reach out, and see what conversations spark up. And as always, reach out if you need me. Hey, Colton, appreciate you spending the time with us, giving us this knowledge.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
And if you're ever in Vegas, dude, swing by the office. Let's shoot the shit a little bit.
I'm down.
Right on.
All right, we'll do it. I'll be there in July. You give me the info for that July 4th thing, that thing you're doing.
Yeah, July 2nd, 3rd. July 2nd and 3rd, right? I'm in my luxury classroom.
I can't wait, man.
Come hang. At least come by. Maybe I'll have put you on stage and have you freaking break down prospecting and how simple it really is.
Easy. Yeah, that's super easy. I'm down. Let's do it.
Go share this out. As always, keep it real.
This is Dropping Bombs with the real Brad Lee. Subscribe at droppingbombs.com.